Cheers and salutations. Welcome everyone to Americans Learn. My name is Kit. This is our YouTube channel. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that ring bell notification. That way all of you are made aware when we put all of this great new content out there. And folks, listen, for all the videos we check out here for Americans Learn, the original link to the video is in the description box below. So please do me a favor, since it is my birth month after all. Please support the original content creators. Follow them on all their social media. It's the right thing to do. It's the one thing to do. And it'll be a nice little birthday present you could do for me. You could spread the kindness. After all, February is a beautiful month after all. And now we have a fun video titled Union, Battle of Monte Cassino, Sabaton History, number 48. I've been out of order, and I intend to stay out of order because Monte Cassino is a very interesting film. Plus, it's based off one of my favorite films, The Devil's Brigade. Check it out sometime. It's a work of art. But nonetheless, grab yourself a tasty snack and a tasty beverage, and let's enjoy Sabaton history, because after all, it was all of you beautiful people that told us about excuse me, about Sabaton history. And you know what the rules are. When we check out Sabaton history, hold on. When we check out Sabaton history, we get our learn on first, and then we get some fun music. So let's enjoy this video in a 3, 2, a 1.
Here's Kirk.
And I'm Captain Pike, the captain before Kirk, and this is Sabaton history.
Incorrect, both of you. The greatest captain is the Sisko, Benjamin Sisko, who rose through the ranks as a commander, as captain, and then eventually as adjutant and one of the supreme commanders of the glorious war against the Dominion, in which the Federation led the charge with the Romulan Empire and the Klingon Empire. Benjamin Sisko, who is a family man who lost his first love, found love again, had another child, and eventually, I hate the season finale of Deep Space Nine, but nonetheless, if you want to learn space exploration, go to Kirk's class. If you want to know about diplomacy and dialogue, go to Picard's class. If you want to learn how to be lost in the galaxy by a lady, go to Janeway's class. But if you want to learn how to be a hard-hitting commander, have military victories, triumph, and glory, you take the class Federation History X. If you got the reference, I love you. If you didn't, that's too bad. Sisko's my favorite captain because you want to know why? Because I used to watch Star Trek The Next Generation, and yes, later on Deep Space Nine. Remember we used to watch TV shows before TiVo or Rewind or anything else like that? Those were glory days that we'll never see again. But Sisko stood out to me because Q, remember Q from The Next Generation? He would use his mind games and so much more to just cause havoc on the Enterprise. Q brought that stuff to Deep Space Nine, and for a young, impressionable Kit Cabello, I saw something that I didn't know we could do. Q was antagonizing the Sisko, and the Sisko had enough and decked him right in the jaw, and he was like, Picard never hit me. And Sisko stood up, looking down at him, said, I'm not Picard. I stood up after eating my sandwich, and I applauded. That was my captain. I found out who my captain was, and before any of you type in the comment section, blah, 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 guess what? Q never came back to Deep Space Nine. Debate me. You know I'm right.
The Battle of Monte Cassino was a series of Allied assaults in Italy during the Second World War.
And our song Union is about that battle.
Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look upon them as your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death.
The Italo-German forces had suffered defeat after defeat, had been pushed out of North Africa, and by August 1943 had lost their grip on Sicily as well. With Mussolini removed from power, not only an end to the Italian commitment to the Axis powers, but an invasion of the Italian mainland by the Allies seemed imminent. German Generalfeldmarschal Albert Kesselring, supreme commander of the German forces in the Mediterranean theater, planned for a series of fortification lines south of Rome that would delay the Allies until his main defenses, the Bernhard and Gustav lines in central.
And here's something, just even looking at the map right off the bat, again, not to sit here like an armchair general, but look at all the hilly and mountainous terrain. What we're about to witness here is a bloody battle, and unfortunately, while most of the attention is brought on the fronts for the Soviets or D-Day, a lot of people tend to forget about what happened in Italy. And it's criminal because a lot of things took place there. Heroes, actions, and nobility, and terror and horror. And we can never forget what happened here. This hits a little close to home because, I'm a proud Sicilian, but altogether, Italy as a whole, what happened here was tragic.
Central Italy were ready. There, with the huge mass of Monte Cassino in its center, they would make their stand along the steep ridges, mountain peaks, and rivers. The Italian theater would not be the place to decide the war. But for the Allied generals, it would tie down as many German forces as possible, preventing them from going to other theaters where they were badly needed. So, a series of grim battles against the German fortifications awaited the Allied forces on their march northwards. Italy is tough country to fight in. 80% of it is pretty rugged terrain with rocky hills and high mountain ranges, and only corridors through the valleys of thick forests and deep marshes. Most travel routes run from east to west, not north to south, which limited the few options the Allies had in their approach. Leapfrogging towards their defenses around Monte Cassino, the Germans used the terrain as a useful multiplier of their forces. Observation posts and mortar pits were blasted into the mountain sides. Pillboxes and concrete bunkers were all over, and the settlements around were prepared with anti-tank ditches, hidden machine gun posts, belts of barbed wire, minefields, and flooded fields. It was truly a fortress, one of the most formidable defense systems, not just in this war, but in military history as a whole, with a network in depth of mutually supporting nests of resistance all along the mountain peaks. And above it all, towered the old Benedictine monastery and abbey, looking...
Oh, I know the tragedy of the Benedictine monastery. Forever, we will never forget what happened here. I hate it when historic monuments are destroyed. I know, spoiler alert, but I'm familiar with this because my grandpa would tell me the story. May he rest in peace. But I wish he was still alive so he could witness this, because I think if Sabaton history is going to do what I think it's going to do, it's going to acknowledge every single warrior or nation that was there, especially Poland, because I'm part Polish too, and it hits close to home.
Down on the ever-advancing Allied forces. In early 1944, after a series of bloody battles failed to break through, the task of attacking from the Adriatic front was given to Lieutenant General Freyberg, commander of the New Zealand and 4th Indian Divisions. Freyberg was a living legend. He had won the Victoria Cross during the Great War, had fought at Gallipoli, the Somme, and in this war was a veteran of Crete and El Alamein. Now, he was tasked by British Prime Minister Winston Churchill himself with keeping Kesselring from Anzio, where Allied landings would soon hopefully build a beachhead. It was American General Mark Clark, though, who wanted the breakthrough on that front before the landings at Normandy and France could happen. For that, a costly frontal attack seemed the only option. It all reminded Freyberg of the Somme back in 1917. The terrible sight of bloated corpses from many nations lying in the churned-up ground for months as heavy rain turned the whole area into a thick morass. Small advances were paid for with blood, running up against machine guns and barbed wire. On the high ground, sleet and snow caused epidemic frostbite and froze the oil in the engines. On the lower ground, where nothing thrived in the mud and rain but mosquitoes, There was little shelter except caves and trenches. Trucks could not advance, and it took 6 hours for mules to get the wounded down from the heights. Shell-shocked, deprived of sleep, in rain and snow, the men endured like zombies. Discipline and morale eroded to the point where officers had to patrol the rear to intercept men trying to slip away to nearby Italian villages. Venereal diseases, too, caused as many casualties.
Venereal disease. Gentlemen, please keep your pecker in your pants, okay? I know it sounds like an adult film kind of thing, but no, seriously, keep your pecker in your pants and wrap it up. What are you doing screwing around? There's a war to fight.
As the German booby traps and mines. The Germans fared little better, though. Under constant barrages of artillery, they lay in wet holes in the ground and covered themselves with the same wet blankets day after day after day. In mid-January 1944, the first battle for Cassino was fought to a standstill, and men from many different nations faced the appalling and merciless conditions of the harsh Italian winter. Alongside British and American forces fought the French Expeditionary Force, made up of Moroccans, Algerians, and Tunisians, the Japanese Americans from the 100th Nisei.
The tragic story. Especially with what happened to Japanese Americans being in the internment camps, and oh my goodness, wow. See, I would like to learn more about that too, that history.
Polish troops, Indians, including Punjabis and Gurkhas, and thousands of Italian volunteers. They were facing not only the Germans, but volunteers and conscripts native to Poland, Czechoslovakia, the Baltics, and the Soviet Union. While the French fought a costly battle through the mountains in the east, the British attempted to cross the major streams Garigliano and Rapido, trying to link up with the Anzio beachhead and outflank the whole German system from the left. With clear air and artillery superiority, they hoped to simply force their way through the Gustav Line and into the Liri Valley. P-40 Kitty Hawks and A-20 bombers provided a constant curtain of air support. But the German defenses held. They were quicker at deploying operational reserves and plugging holes in the lines. The German Luftwaffe's 1st Fallschirmjäger Division, one of the most formidable units in the Italian theater, manned independent resistance nests everywhere. Alongside them stood Gebirgsjäger and mobile Panzergrenadier divisions, experienced in small battle group fighting and commanded by officers with years of Eastern Front experience. And German...
Say it with me, folks. What could possibly go wrong?
German observers hidden on the monastery hill saw everything that approached them. The ancient abbey of Cassino had defied attacks from the south for centuries, and now the Benedictine monastery, with its 100-foot-high walls of quarried limestone up to 30 feet thick, was a symbol of defiance, staring down on the miserable attackers. With its underground crypts, old chapels and basilicas, priceless artwork and libraries.
I have this book called World War II, Day by Day. I know what's going to happen, and I'm dreading every minute that passes by because I don't want to watch.
It was a sacred place for Christendom worldwide, even housing the relics of Saint Benedict himself. But as thousands died at its feet, it became also a malevolent place. In the eyes of many Allied soldiers, the monastery mocked and taunted them with its grandeur, always on the horizon, always out of reach. At first, it was excluded from the list of bombing targets, though the Germans had carried away much of the art and relics before the battle began, storing most of it in monasteries and salt mines all over Italy and Germany. Some, of course, found itself a new home in Hermann Goering's eccentric living.
Hermann Goering, you fat bastard. The Red Baron says F you.
Room. By February, the voices to destroy it became louder. Capturing it intact seemed to be suicide. By mid-February, its fate was decided, and on the 14th, leaflets were dropped warning the inhabitants in the whole region of the imminent destruction of the abbey. The next day, waves of B-17 flying fortresses and B-26 bombers came out of the heavens and turned it into a burning ruin. An outcry came from the whole Catholic world, and to this day, it is still debated whether the monastery was of military value. The monks at the time insisted that the Germans had declared it a safe zone.
Years of history gone in a matter of minutes.
And no military forces were inside. And it is possible that during the Allied decoding of German messages, they confused the word Abt, German for abbot, with Abteilung, the German word for detachment. But whatever it had been a day earlier, now the Germans were quick to incorporate the ruins into their defense system. Progress was snail-like for the attackers. The New Zealanders and Indians began the fight for Cassino town, and every house was carefully sandbagged and turned into a bunker. German snipers were relentless, though, and paratroopers fought for every corner. Independent nests of resistance preyed on advancing allies with automatic weapons and hand grenades. Even a few panzers and assault guns had survived hidden in the cellars. Street fights were fought over streets that basically no longer existed by men who brought bazookas to a gunfight. On the Ides of March, a second bombardment was to smash the German position.
The Ides of March, the day when Caesar died.
1,000 guns, among them 3 giant Italian railway guns, left nothing surrounding Cassino unscathed, smothering the German positions in fire and explosions. However, as if awakened by the destruction, Mount Vesuvius erupted 2 days later, belching smoke and ash into the air and sending lava flooding down its slopes.
So it's becoming literally hell on earth. Not only is it a war zone in which people are dying in the mud, taking 6 hours for the donkeys to get them, those who are injured to get to the to get medical attention. Not only is there disease, not only is there just the madness and PTSD of total war, but then comes the volcano and the lava. It's hell. Hell has come.
By April, it was clear that the Germans were losing. They could not hope to overcome the overwhelming amount of Allied men and material arriving, and their casualties could simply not be replaced. But to fully break the Germans, the Allies would have to turn it up a notch. The offensive was to be elevated to corps level, 300,000 men, but they would practice a specific kind of warfare, blitzkrieg. Maximizing their superiority in artillery and armor, they would create a Schwerpunkt at Cassino and take the whole area in one massive swoop. The honor of capturing the monastery was to go to the newly arrived Polish army. Fighting for the British in the...
Here's where Poland comes in. Close to my heart. R.I.P. Richard.
Second Polish Corps under Lieutenant General Władysław Anders, the Poles were eager to settle scores with the Germans. The overall story of the Polish diaspora is certainly worth an episode of its own, as from April 1942 onwards, hundreds of thousands of Poles had crossed the Caspian Sea to the Persian coast, through Iraq and Palestine, to fight at Tobruk and Sicily. Now the Poles relieved the Moroccans and prepared to storm the German position.
Wow.
On May 11th, after 1,600 guns had unleashed hell on the German positions, the infantry advanced. The casualties were heavy, running into German mortar and Nebelwerfer rounds, and the fighting continued all day. But the surviving and shell-shocked defenders were finally pushed from their positions. As night fell, the Germans gave the order to retreat from the monastery, and as the sun rose on the 12th, the Poles stormed the slopes and flew the Polish flag high above.
We did it! Outstanding. Outstanding.
Monastery Hill,
Hoist the colors.
signaling the battle's end. The fight for Italy was not over, not by a long shot, but for the moment, the Allies could bask in their hard-won victory. The sorrows of the Abbey, however, were not over. And indeed, much of it vanished as souvenirs of Allied soldiers. The whole area was a graveyard for thousands of men from many different nations. And that abbey, the first house of the Benedictine order of monks, established by Saint Benedict himself over 1,500 years before, was a ruin on poisoned ground. It would be rebuilt after the war, but the dead remain.
Union is actually one of my kind of secret favorite songs.
See, I wouldn't have guessed that, right?
No, that's the thing though. It's like when we made it, it's on Art of War, and it never really translated the way I wanted it to sound on the album. If it was the production, our playing and we're performing it, I don't know actually.
Yeah.
And over the years, we barely played it live in the beginning, and then later on through the years, we started to pick it up again and a bit rearranging it, and it finally came to life. I think we brought it on tour in.
I think it's the first time I've heard him like say, "Hey, this is a secret song that I like the most." Which, by the way, all their songs are epic and on point, and I encourage all of you to listen to all their music and content. So follow them on all of their social media. Do so right now.
On the Last Stand tour in 2016-17, it's actually one of my favorite songs to play live.
Well, what is it? Is it a fan favorite now, or is this the band plays it because the band likes to play it?
A bit of both. I still think it's a bit of an underrated song, but it usually brings a smile to people's faces when we play it, you know? We'll see. Hopefully it'll be back someday. I want to play it again.
Now, it's interesting subject matter because, of course, the fighting in Italy you've covered in other songs, like in Smoking Snakes.
Yes.
Smoking Snakes.
Smoking Snakes.
Smoking snakes. Say that 3 times fast. Smoking snakes. Smoking snakes. Smoking snakes. Do it. Do it now.
Now, there it was, you know, the sitting around and they got the name Smoking Snakes, and here it's a bear.
Yes, Wojtek.
Wojtek
I
the
think that's
bear.
quite interesting too. I didn't know about that until we started, you know, working with the song about the story of the bear.
I mean, only the amount of nationalities involved in this.
Yeah.
It's a kind of fascinating battle, and I think also a sort of iconic setting for a battle. You know?
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people, particularly in the West, particularly like America and Britain, places like that, you lose sight of the Italian campaign compared to the D-Day and the campaign in Western Europe, or for the Americans, the campaign in the Pacific and stuff. It's relegated to 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place. People tend to see more about the North Africa than the Italian campaign, but of course it was a hugely important campaign.
That's something that I'm glad that we set this channel up, because through this channel, I've been learning so much about stories and battles and people that flew under the radar for me when I was getting my education. I mean, I would have liked to have known about these people. And it seems so much is being left hidden or put behind a wall that we never hear these stories. And that's the purpose here for Americans Learn, for us to get our learn on. So that's why I encourage all of you to please support the original content creators for all the videos we check out here. Do that.
Absolutely.
More.
I mean, it goes for most conflicts, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a sort of a pecking order which country had the most powerful entertainment industry at the time.
That's well, you know, that's an
Those are
important
the stories that get told, you know?
Yeah.
And also the language barrier. I mean, it's pretty easy for, I'm not bashing America or the UK in any way here, but I mean, having an internationally easily accessible language, and when you're making movies, well, those stories will get told much more. And especially for me in Eastern Europe, I mean, coming with the Soviet Union rolling in and pretty much slamming the door shut, and sometimes, you know, not encouraging that country's history to be spread, makes it much harder to find those stories.
That's true, and that's a real shame. One thing, though, which a side note and a plug, at some point, probably
Loving this. We're going to get a plug. What is it?
in a year or year and a half, we're going to start doing on my World War II channel. We're going to start doing stuff about the home front, where we cover like the music and films of the different nations. Like one episode could be about Japanese film and Japanese music in the early 40s, or Chinese, or Soviet Union. I thought
I would love that. And I would love to check that out.
that'd be a really interesting, like,
Can I be a guest on
series.
that episode?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be like different ones it's going to be a regular series.
Oh, cool.
So, because there's a lot of countries to cover. I have no idea, for example, what the popular Italian music of 1943 was like, but I'm looking forward to learning about that. Or the Hungarian, or the Romanian. you know.
It would be amazing to hear.
So that's why I think, so this is a shameless plug for something we're not even going to do for at least another year, because we have plenty of other stuff that we got to do.
Oh, yes. Lots of stuff to do.
Okay, well, that was Union then. All
yes,
right.
I guess so.
All right, thanks for today. See you next time.
Take care. All right, everyone, that's it for this week. And you know what? This show has been a lot of fun to produce, and we want to keep doing it. And we can do it through your help, through Patreon, but you can also help us by, well, subscribing, turning on notifications.
There we go.
Yeah, telling your friends. So click there for more videos, and remember to check out Indy's other channels. Thank you.
There we go, as we should. Now, you know what the rules are. Listen, folks, I expect all of you, especially since it's my birth month, to please support Sabaton History. Follow them on all their social media. It's the right thing to do. It's the one thing to do. I think all of you should do it. So why don't you get to it right away? But look, folks, you know what the rules are. You know what the rules are. Okay, this is going to be Sabaton History, right? Where we get our learn on, where we listen to the music. Okay, so hold on. Union, Sabaton History. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. You got your learn on. Now we get our music. And that's what we're going to do. So if you don't got it, get it. If you don't get it, go figure it out. So let's go ahead and enjoy it for everybody to sit back and relax and enjoy. So let's play it. In a 3, a 2, a 1.
Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look upon them as your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death.
Turn to rise, the force of a union at war. March over mountains on our way to the north, on the road that will lead us to Rome. Our way will not be easy, it will take us through hardship and pain. Hill after hill, breaking the lines of defense.
perfect song. You know what the rules are. I don't interrupt. I don't pause. So first of all, what to say about Monte Cassino? First of all, the destruction of Saint Benedict is a tragedy, as it is it was a bastion of human triumph and architecture and art. And its loss is one of the many tragedies of the Second World War. Of course, art never to be seen again, but however, it was rebuilt. However, the loss of human lives and the stories that need to be told of the Battle of Italy and the stories of triumph and tragedy, heroism and horror need to be told. And I think now in this day and age, people are talking more about more of the individuals and people. People are looking more in depth of overall what took place, not only during the Second World War, but other historic conflicts and events that shaped our modern world. And I encourage all of you, hey, take time out of your day to learn something new. Read a new book. Go to your public library. Get your learn on somewhere. We here at Americans Learn encourage all of you to get your learn on, no matter where it's at, wherever you're at. So it's your time to shine and do the right thing. And folks, you want to know what else will be right? Support the original content creator. That link to this video, as well as the music video, are in the description box below. So if you don't got it, get it. If you don't get it, go figure it out. Do the right thing. It's my birth month after all. Support Sabaton, Sabaton History. They do great stuff. I love them. 10 out of 10. Epic band. And I hope all of you have a safe time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day or evening, wherever you're at in the world.